Welcome to Left Night with Kendra Dawsey, and here's your host, Kendra Dawsey.
Hi everyone. Hello. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So I'm very excited about what we're doing today.
Yeah.
If you have been following Zach or I on social media, you know that this week we did kind of a Left Night Goes to the Movies sort of thing, and we did a poll. We did a poll where people voted on what they wanted us to watch, and the final result was a tie between the seminal 1966 Italian-Algerian film Battle of Algiers and Hillbilly Elegy starring Meryl Streep, I think.
No, Glenn Close, I think.
Oh, whoops. Okay,
Yes.
No offense to either
Yes.
of those
Yes.
actresses. They are both great. I just sometimes confuse them for one another.
Right. Sure.
So we had a tie between those two films. And we went with Battle of Algiers because I did not want to see Hillbilly Elegy, and I don't think Zach did either.
Right. And also there were 30 some odd votes in that poll. I know what type of numbers we get on a night by night basis watching this show, and I know there were some people who were just voting who do not watch the show. So if you're somebody who's not going to suffer through Hillbilly Elegy with us, then I don't care what your stance is.
Yeah, then fuck off.
Yes.
One of my friends was like, I have never heard of any of those films. You should watch Spice World. And we could probably dig up some like leftists or like unionists or whatever, thoughts in Spice World, but that should probably be left off for, like the third or fourth week. We do.
Right, yes. I think we can. But if you have some good or bad suggestions of films you do think would be good for our Left Night Goes to the Movie series, please let us know in the comments what films you think might be apropos, or you think would just be funny to listen to us try to squeeze some Marxism out of.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm looking at the comments now. A Bug Supreme called you hot. They said that you are getting more and more handsome.
Yep.
I love how you're just like, yes, I am. And we have Rachel.
I know his taste. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Silver Daddies. And then we have Rachel Jean Andelman saying, I'm so glad my classroom got too wet so I could watch this live. So I'm glad that people are excited to hear us talk about the Battle of Algiers. Yeah, I'm really excited about this film. I wonder if we should give like a background on it. If we could give a little bit of a background, if you like.
We also have Matt has a trailer up and ready to show.
Oh hell yeah! All right,
because Matt is on top of the game.
Yes.
So let's show this trailer for those who may not have seen this film before.
Hell yeah.
Nous sommes arrivés à la moyenne de 4,2 attentats par jour. Oui, il faut distinguer les attaques individuelles et les attentats à la bombe. Nous disons qu'il y a une minorité qui s'impose par la terreur et la violence. Nous devons agir sur cette minorité dans le but de l'isoler et de la détruire.
يصعب للشعب باش يبدا ثورة ويصعب له بزاف باش يوصلها ويصعب له أكثر وأكثر باش ينتصر.
La France doit-elle rester en Algérie? Si vous répondez encore oui, vous devez en accepter toutes les conséquences nécessaires.
So yeah, that's the trailer. So now you probably have a rough idea of what it's about.
Yes.
In case you don't know the historical I've arrived on strict orders from Twitter. Amazing. In case you don't know the historical background, France occupied the area that is now known as Algeria. I think it was known as Algeria then, for about 130 years. And Algerians didn't like it. There's probably lots of waves of resistance to colonialism throughout the time. But around the 1950s, there was the Algerian War against the French government in North Africa. And the two main fighters were the FLN, which stands for like the National Liberation Front, but it's in like French. So like the letters are backwards, and the French government. And then about 11 years, 4 years after it happened, Italian dude was like, let me make a movie out of this. So it's actually pretty cool how he made it. So like there was a man who wrote an Algerian man who wrote a book about the Battle of Algiers. His name was Sadi Youssef, I believe. Yassef Sadi. Okay. I got that wrong. Or Sadi Yassef. I guess it could be both. He was a former leader of the FLN, and he wrote a book, and he actually is in the movie and helped co-produce. So like there are Algerian voices and like people relevant to this freedom struggle in the film. Most of the people in the film were not actors. Like most of the people who played Algerians were not actors. I think like the like military French dude was played by like an official actor.
Yeah, you can tell that guy's an actor.
Yes.
He's like very like specifically like you can tell he is a 1960s French actor.
Yes. You totally can. Yes. You totally can. But yeah, the film definitely was banned in France because it was not explicitly pro-French. Yeah, and I think the filmmaker, I don't know if you felt this way about the film, Zach, but the filmmaker, I think his name is Gio Portocorvo. He was like, I tried to make a film that was like objective about the realities of war and was not explicitly taking like any side.
Right.
But like France was still like, no, we can't show this film because it's not pro-French. And like the government got like, no, the director got like death threats from like fascists. And then after a while, the film was released. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. It is really interesting. Just sort of the way that, or at least in like how he talks about it, his intention was not to make a movie that is sympathetic to terrorism. But I mean, the first like 20 minutes of this movie is just French cops getting riddled with bullets. And
you are so
really
right.
cool to watch. Like the way that it is filmed is just like
the way that it's filmed, not what they're doing, government.
Yeah.
To any government officials watching this, that was a joke. No, but it is interesting, like watching the first 20 minutes, I was like, wow, I guess, like 60 years ago, it was easier to kill cops. No further commentary. But yeah, the first 20 minutes are, a lot of Algerian not Algerian, I'm sorry. So like in French they're called pieds noirs, which are like French people who were born in Algeria but like as colonizers. So it's a lot of like pieds noirs getting shot.
Yes.
And
but
like
specifically cops, because that's sort of
that's true.
Because that's a whole like this sort of what you see a lot of in the trailer. There is like the explosions of the civilian, in the civilian centers, but those don't start happening until after the cops put a bomb in the Arab district of Algiers.
Yeah.
In response to the police being shot. It's only then that civilians actually get targeted.
Yeah. Yes, that's very true. And, I think it also does show like how people kind of get like galvanized. Cause I mean, there's a part in the film where like a bunch of French people just accuse like Arab dude sitting outside as like, oh, he's the one who like shot all these cops. From my understanding, he didn't do it. I get kind of confused watching black and white movies because like everyone has the same hair color, but like he that dude didn't do it, right?
No, I think he was just sort of maybe like a homeless guy.
Yeah, he was just like sitting there.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, so I think the idea is that like, oh, they like put a bomb outside like someone's house who they think did the shootings, and it like affects a lot of other people, and then they all get mad and they like want to like they want to fight the French, they want to fight the Pied Noir for doing this. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's told mostly through the point of it covers a lot of different points of view, which is one of the interesting things about it, but it's mostly about this one guy, Ali Lapointe, who was a real person. Who becomes one of these leaders by circumstance. He's not one of the most educated. He's illiterate. He can't. Yeah. He's not even.
He can't read.
He can't read. I think they say that he's a laborer, bricklayer, and boxer are his professions. So at the beginning, he's doing like a 3-card Monte type of game on the street.
Yeah.
And just by willpower and circumstances, he becomes one of the leaders and one of the last standing members of this resistance group. And it's if you're somebody who is viewing it from the more sort of imperialist viewpoint, it's like, oh, this ordinary guy got caught up in this whole thing and became, public enemy number one because he believed what he was told. And then if you, from the point of the sort of anti-imperial viewpoint, it's sort of the liberatory power of resistance that this person who would have never had a chance to be anybody important in the colonial society becomes an incredibly important figure because of the power of revolution.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think one thing that struck me and one thing that I've heard and one thing that I think is not a bad thing is that he was radicalized in prison and kind of like told about the, he had his awakening in prison. And I think that's also been true of what I've heard based on like reading some stuff from like Black Panthers. There were a lot of people who were like kind of linked into freedom struggles broadly defined in prison. Or, I mean, also if you're like a white Nazi, you're also radicalized, but like not in a direction, in a direction that we don't want. We want radicalization towards like people being free and like no colonialism. We don't want Nazi liberation. That's just white men having fun. So like he was radicalized there and like people, because like prison, I mean, it sucks. I've never been in prison. It sucks based on what I've been told. And you have a lot of free time to talk to like your cellmate. So if your cellmate is someone who's like used to be in the FLN, he'll probably tell you about it. And you might be like, oh, wow, like thanks for your service, Yes.
It's funny you mentioned the Black Panthers, because do you know the connection between the Black Panthers and this film?
Didn't someone in the Black Panthers go to Algeria at some point?
So yes, some Black Panthers did flee to Algeria, and some of them were involved in there was a court case. I can't remember what exactly the charges are, but there were 13 Black Panthers who were up for were being tried in the state of New York, and as evidence of their radicalness, the prosecution showed the film Battle of Algiers, talking about how the Black Panthers used it as a recruitment and propaganda tool.
Interesting.
And the film was shown in its entirety. With the judge said people were allowed to rearrange their seats to watch the film, but they were not allowed to comment. And he reprimanded the Black Panthers for laughing at the part where the military guy says you'll get a fair trial.
That is a pretty cool story, actually.
Yes, and this is one of the cases where the Black Panthers actually were found not guilty at this trial, and many people believe that showing this film had the exact opposite sort of effect on the jury than what the prosecution was going for.
Yeah. That tracks because again, this film is not explicitly like pro-French. It doesn't like glamorize the French like occupation or colonization at all. It's like this people are mad for very understandable reasons.
And I think the most meaningful part of the film is when the press is interviewing Ben Mahdi, who is like the sort of the intellectual wing of the FLN, and they ask him, is it cowardly to put bombs in your women's baskets? And his response is it cowardly to drop napalm from jets onto villagers like you're doing in Vietnam? It's like we will trade. It's like you're killing thousands more people. We will trade baskets for jets if you would like to trade with us. And I think that's a really powerful that sort of gets to the sort of the idea of sort of colonial, I don't know what I'm like sort of the it's asymmetrical nature of the colonial struggle.
Yes, very true. Yeah, but yeah, I would say you should watch it. I would definitely say you should watch it. I think politically, it's a very important film, and I think beyond that, it's also like in terms of like film history, it's very important. It's part of the like Italian neo-realism, not neoliberalism, neo-realism thing. So yeah, you should watch it if you like are a film geek, or if you just like want to learn about freedom struggle from like people.
Yeah. Also an Ennio Morricone soundtrack, all-time great film composer.
Yes, exactly. All right. So we talked enough about that film. We'll get back to you right after this commercial break.
Hey folks, today's Left Night is brought to you by the America's Next Top War sweepstakes. Get a chance, enter today, and you can choose the next destination for America's next war. Brought to you by your friends at Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and Northrop Grumman. We've got a special chance for you to choose the next spot. Spin a wheel, pick a name out of a hat, or make one of your grudges finally come through. We got choices such as Iran, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, pretty much all of Africa, Somalia. Sorry, we're already in a war in Somalia. Did you even know that? Did you know that the United States has been officially part of a war since 2007 in Somalia? Well, you can't choose that. Hey, do you know how many wars America's in right now? Could you tell me if I asked you? Could you tell me? Would you know? Could you give me a sure answer to what should be a simple question? How many wars is America in right now? Well, it doesn't matter, because that raffle's still coming through. We got to keep making this military money happen, baby. All right? Choose anywhere. Maybe you just hate Mongolia. Let's give it to Mongolia then. We can have a war happen anywhere. It doesn't matter. Imperialism is a slimy little thing that can fit into whatever we want to make it happen in. Just don't, I guess you can't choose a NATO country. But why would you want to bomb white people anyway? Am I right?
So Zach, just gotta correct you there. They're not called wars. They're extended military entanglements. All right, like let's get it.
I'm sorry. Yes.
The terminology is very important. Just because we bomb a country doesn't mean we're at war with them. All right.
Right. Yes. I'm sorry that I overstepped my bounds. But
it's fine.
Using the W word. I will try not to do that again.
Like we're not ready for that type of commitment with all of these countries. It's just an extended military entanglement. Then we go back to our main bitch, all right? To go to war with. I don't even know who that would be in this metaphor. Anyway.
Our own poor people?
Yes, exactly. So we don't have too much time left in this episode, but things have been happening. What things have been happening this week, Zach?
So I think that it's a perfect movie to watch this week just because it ties in so well with everything that is going on, particularly with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I just want to real quick. I know we're pretty much done talking about Battle of Algiers, but this is from the 2003 screening that they did of it at the Pentagon. This is the quote for the flyer for the Pentagon screening of Battle of Algiers.
Mm-hmm.
How to win a battle against terrorism and lose a war of ideas. Children shoot soldiers at point-blank range. Women plant bombs in cafes. Soon the entire Arab population builds to a mad fervor. Sound familiar? The French have a plan. It succeeds tactically but fails strategically. To understand why, come to a rare showing of this film.
Yeah, this film has been shown for like military operations.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, part of that is just how good of a film it is that people will just like interpret it to whatever their brain says. But like, that's such a to me, that's such a wild take. And then to be like, we're gonna learn actually what not to do from this film.
Like everything that happened in this film, don't do it. And then we still, so in terms of Afghanistan, obviously Afghanistan, the people in many cities in Afghanistan, they're not doing too well. There's not really a great joke we could say about it. It definitely sucks as people in the Imperial Corps, the country that I'm a citizen of, gave weapons to terrorists to fight against the Soviets, then got confused when those same people turned the weapons against us, and then occupied a country to no one's benefit, and now the country's fucked up, and like Lockheed Martin has more money. So our thoughts go out to the people of Afghanistan, not to be all thoughts and prayers about this, but some things that you can do are advocate for Afghan refugees to come to America. There's like a lot of like GoFundMe's for flights and stuff, or even like giving your miles to Afghan refugees. Because the least we could do after destroying a country is let the people in that country into ours, which I really hope we do, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So,
right, yeah. The only, I mean, the thing about America is you can't even trust America doing something that is sort of like baseline humanitarian, because they're, even if we send over like a bunch of jets to pick up refugees, those jets are also going to hand over some weapons to somebody else who's there. But if there's anything that we should be supporting, it is refugee assistance for America. Other than that, we should be staying the fuck out.
Yeah, we should continue not to fuck with countries through a myriad of ways. I think we've been, as the U.S. as a nation state, has probably been messing with Afghanistan for at least 40 years, probably even more. The history's complicated. It's very stupid. No one knew what they were doing the entire time. If you read the Afghanistan papers, you'll just get upset. Since Carter, I believe that. That's our segment.
Yeah, that and although I will say it has been pretty funny to watch Joe Biden get interviewed. And just every time he's just like, man, what do you want? This is messed up. I can't do anything about it.
And then people are just forgetting George Bush had anything to do with it. And he's like, yeah, sorry, my bad. It's like, fuck you.
It's so weird the way that he just gets he just painted his way out of everything.
I know. Anyway, fuck all of them. I guess we could bring up one thing before your closing remarks, Zach.
I don't really have any closing remarks, so
all right, let's just
keep talking. Yeah, let's
talk for like another minute. I'm trying to think of like happy things that happened this week, which I don't. Some annoying fake leftist podcast man got an expensive house. His name is like Hassan Piker.
Oh,
Is that his
Hassan
name?
Piker.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's his deal?
I mean, Hassan Piker is fine to me. He's sort of like a Twitch gaming hunk who just like handsomely games and talks to the youth about socialism.
Yeah.
All things considered, the children are watching a lot of fucked up things out there, and if they're watching Hassan Piker, I'm not mad about it. All things considered. But he has amassed quite a bit of wealth from doing it, which just to go more than anything tells you that the way that money is handed out in this country is messed up. Nobody should make any money for gaming. You should only lose money by gaming.
Yeah, I think people are like, oh, he says he's a socialist, but like got a $3 million house instead of like giving people stuff. Also, like the name of the Young Turks, that's kind of genocide-y. Like, no, let's just I don't know much else about him, but like it's a great plug for QAW after this. Oh yeah. Well, so it's 8. We should go to QAW.
Oh yes.
Hassan Piker, I thought he was a generic white man. He's Turkish, which is like Muslim white, and argue about that with me in the comments.
Oh man. We can do a whole episode. Are Turks white?
I've heard from Turks themselves. They're like, yeah, we're white. Okay, the Ottoman Empire, like, come on, let's be real. Anyway, stick around for Quarantine Action Wrestling, where there'll be no discussion of the race of other people and their implicity of like in colonialism, regardless of their origin. We will see you next week.